Hey, what is going on, guys? So finally making it to kind of part 2 of my review of this kit, which is also just kind of a final review, just showing the full painted version of the Master Grade Extreme Unicorn Gundam Ver.Ka here. I am all done painting it and the cage as well, which is pretty simple. Not really too much to that, but it's all done now, and I'm not gonna have this on like automatically rotating. I'll just be rotating it around here just by hand, just so you guys can see around that. Was kind of tricky nailing down a pose for this, to be honest. When just right after I built up the kit the first time and did the first review, I was trying to sort out which pose I was gonna ultimately go for this kit, and it seemed like whichever way I posed it, it looked good from one angle and then it looked off from a different angle. So like with this one, I think this is how I'll ultimately stick with this for the pose for it, which it looks really good, I think, from this angle, but then when you look at it from this side, it looks kind of awkward, weird. But anyway, that aside, it looks awesome. This kit came out really nice. As you can see, obviously I changed up the colors a little bit. I made the dark blue just a very much lighter kind of blue-gray kind of color. It's not super rich or anything. It's not very dark. The white, obviously, I changed to a more creamy kind of white color. And then the inner frame, not the cycle frame, but just the regular metallic kind of inner frame, is now in a kind of tan buff kind of color. And so I wanted to customize it without going too far from the original color scheme. So it's still pretty much original color scheme for the most part. It's just slightly tweaked a little bit. And yeah, I think I'm really happy with how this came out, and it looks even better lit up. So we'll get to that here in just a second. But just as far as the construction process, everything goes with this kit, really nice. The water slide decals are fantastic as well too. You have a load of them with this being a Ver.Ka kit, so the decals took quite a while, and I only have 4 of the beam Gatling guns and not 6, and I didn't do the bazooka as well either. So there's even and plus 2 more shields. I only have 1 instead of the 3 shields. So I guess if you do all the accessories, the decals are going to take that much even longer, but it still took quite a while to get all the decals on this kit. Alright, so let's get to the LED sequence. So the switch is just right down here up underneath the front. You just flip up this little flap here, you can access the switch for the LED. Now when you press it once the first time, just the lights in the head will light up there, just the green one there for the eyes and the cycle frame in the head. So you'll just have that green light there in the head, which looks very nice. And I just really like how the light emits out of there, and you can just see it like lighting up just like the kind of the front of the face armor as well there too. You just get this really nice reflection just on the edges of the face armor around there, right around the lights. So it looks really nice. Now this will stay on automatically for 3 minutes, and then it'll just automatically turn off. But if we press it one more time, it will light up the entire body in red. So it lights up the head first, and then the full cycle frame comes on, and we got it all lit up in red. Now, if you had the shields plugged in, the shields plugged in on the secondary wires, those are not turned on at this point, and so this is just only for the main body. And now at this point will stay on for 5 minutes before it automatically turns off like this. So you can just press it like that, show your friends, or everybody has an ooh and an ah, and then you can walk away and not worry about, oh, did I forget to switch it off or not. It'll just automatically turn off after 5 minutes, so you're all good. But yeah, that glow looks fantastic. Then we press it one more time, it'll turn off and then come back on with the green cycle frame. There we go. And now this one as well will stay on for 5 minutes and then automatically turn off later on, after the 5 minutes is done. And yeah, this one as well looks fantastic also. With both the forms, when you have the shield plugged onto the arm, the light doesn't really light up the kind of like fans of the shield that much, unfortunately. It doesn't really light that all up. I mean, you're getting the brightest light there out of like the middle section, and then the shoulders, the knees, the legs also look really nice and bright, where you've got a lot of that cycle frame showing. It's just unfortunate that you don't have that carried into the shield very much. And then we press it one more time. That will basically set it to a mode that will cycle between red and green. So it'll stay red for a little while, and then it'll switch off and switch to green, and then it will later switch back to red. And it basically does that for 5 minutes, and then it turns off again. So as far as I can tell here from the manual, there's no mode on this where you just turn it on and it just stays on indefinitely. It only will ever stay lit up for 5 minutes, it seems like. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of okay unless you want it to stay on permanently. In which case, I think probably what your best bet would just be to, modify the box down there to not run off batteries, and just modify it to just be able to plug into like a USB just power source or something like that, just to plug into like a USB connection into the wall or something like that. And then you can just have it just turn on all the time if that's what you want. But in this mode, it will just cycle back and forth between red and green cycle frame. And then when we press it one more time, it will just turn completely off. And then it's just off. And then when you press it again, it'll just start back the sequence at the start, just lighting up just only the head again. But that is going to be about it for the Unicorn here. Now, if you haven't seen my first part of my review, kind of the main review for this kit, you can go back and check that out, where I went in much more detail about everything that's included with the kit and all the articulation and everything. I found so far in my experience, the LED sheet being installed in there hasn't really messed with the articulation at all. You've still got the full articulation as much as you had without. You've got that all here with the LED sheet in there as well too, so that's not going to be a problem at all. And ultimately, I think the LED sheet does a really, really great job of lighting the kit up. Now, does it do any better or worse than just kind of a regular wired LEDs like what we saw in the Perfect Grade? I don't know, it's kind of hard to say. I guess maybe understand why Bandai maybe just wanted to try something new. I think they definitely could have totally done the exact same kind of thing like what they did with the Perfect Grade. I think they just wanted to try something different. There doesn't really seem to be any reason why they really needed something as thin as an LED sheet. Basically everywhere where you're putting that into the construction of the kit, stringing the LED sheet through the different parts, it seems like there's totally room enough that they could have just done a kind of normal wire. It seems like Bandai just kind of wanted to see what they could do, basically. And the unfortunate thing for us is that I think this LED sheet was probably more expensive to manufacture, and so that price is going to be passed on to us. We're going to be paying a little bit more for that, when it doesn't really necessarily seem like it was the necessary option for this. But again, when it's lit up, it does look fantastic. At the end of the day, that's the most important part, is how good does it look, and it certainly looks very good. Just going back to the building process though, I will also say it is a very tedious build. Now, the first time I built it up, it wasn't that bad. You're pretty much just building a typical kind of master grade kit. It is a different building experience from the old master grade Verca, if you've ever built that. This one doesn't feel like you're building the exact same kit. There are certainly aspects of it that do feel different and fresh, just mainly because of the LED gimmick. But then building it a second time, once everything was all painted and I was building it with the LED sheet installed in there, it's certainly a tedious build. It takes a while, and you really have to pay attention to the manual to make sure you're putting everything together in the right way. You've got the LED sheet like folded in the right way as you're kind of going around folding it over itself here and there to get it all strewn through everywhere where it's meant to be. But as long as you follow the manual and you just take your time, you'll be fine. It's not gonna, I didn't really experience it to be very brittle either. That was one reason why I didn't include the LED sheet in my initial review of this kit, because I had heard that it can be kind of easily breakable, and going through the process of deconstructing the kit and in preparation for painting it and then putting it back together again, I thought it was just kind of a high risk that I was maybe going to end up damaging the LED sheet or something. But now that I've gone through the process of building it with the LED sheet in there, it seems pretty resilient. I think you'd really have to be really rushing or just really not being careful with what you're doing in order to damage it. I don't think that you would just damage it if you're just going through the normal process of carefully constructing and or deconstructing the kit. I don't think that would really damage the LED sheet that much, so you'd probably be safe if you ended up building it with the LED sheet and then you wanted to take it apart for painting. Again, after that, you should be fine. But at the end of the day, despite it being a long and tedious process of just not only putting the kit back together, but I mean just painting it took a long time as well too, just because you can't really assemble anything until like right at the very end, after everything is entirely done. So you just have a lot of pieces to manage while you're going through the painting process and everything. And finally at the end you can finally put it all together. It takes a while, but when it's all said and done, it looks fantastic. So that's the most important thing. I'm very happy with this. Very glad that I took the time. Because it ends up coming out looking really, really great. So gotta say, it's a highly recommended kit. But just going back to the question that a lot of people had about this, is it really worth the price of over $200 for this kit, around $220, something like that? Is it really worth that price? I still really couldn't quite answer that, because I think it's just too much of a personal question whether it's really worth that price to you. But here's my recommendation to you guys. Basically, if you wanted a version of the Unicorn that has a full LED set, basically you're limited to either this or the PG. And the pros and cons between that are this comes with a lot more accessories. You have the cage there as well, which is really cool. Now the PG does come with a base, but it's very simple. It doesn't have the full cage and all that. It's not quite as complex as this one is. But the other main thing for me is just the posability. This kit is really highly posable, and it holds poses really well. It's very nicely articulated and very solid, whereas the PG is just very big and heavy, and it can't really hold many poses very well, unfortunately, without modification. So if all you want the kit to do is just stand there and look really cool, then the PG is fine. It also takes up a lot more shelf space as well though too. too. So if you're worried about that, I would say maybe something a little bit smaller, like the MG here, might be a better option. So between this and the MG, as far as full light up unicorns go, I think this is probably, you know, pound for pound the better kit. I think you have a lot more options in posability, a lot more options for weaponizing the kit. You have the options of having the shields flying out on their own as well too. You can make the triple flying shield bit and all that. So there's just a lot more that you can do with this kit. So that would be my recommendation for you guys. If you don't care about the light up gimmick at all, if you don't care about having a unicorn that has LEDs inside it, then I would recommend going for the RG. I think it would be the best bet. It's certainly a lot cheaper than either the MG-EX or the PG. So at the end of the day, whatever you guys decide to pick up for yourselves, as always, I'll recommend you guys to do so from USA Gundam Store. The link to USA Gundam Store will be down in the video description below. Use my coupon code there, ZachAurelius10, to save 10% off. So especially like a big kit like this or the PG, for example, saving 10% off that, it's going to be a nice little chunk of change. And of course, if you guys do have any other further questions or comments about the build or about the kits, just make sure to leave those down in the comment section down below as well too. I'll try to answer any questions you guys might have about this, but I'm really happy with how this came out. I think it looks pretty awesome. So let me know your guys' thoughts there down below. Anything that you thought about the kit, that you like or dislike about it, pros and cons, things like that. I'm always happy to hear that. And so as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. And on just one last final note, I will also just mention that this kit is going to be for sale. So if any of you guys are interested in buying this off of me now that it's all completely painted and all that, just get in touch with me and we can sort something out. But for now, guys, until next time, I hope you're all having a great day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.